Hello and welcome back to the First Love Project podcast. I'm Dr. Jori, the show's host and creator, and it is my joy and pleasure to welcome you back today. Welcome to anyone who's found us for the first time. It's no accident that you're here today, friends, so please don't run off quite yet. Please stick around for a bit and let's see what all the Lord has for us today. And welcome to you returning listeners. I'm so thankful that you are here today. Thank you for stopping in and thinking about God's word together with me. What a joy it is that God would give us his word and that he would want us to know his word and that he would want us to know him. His word, as we read, is breathed out by him, and it's profitable for teaching, correction, reproof, and training in righteousness. The man of God may be complete or adequate, one translation said, for every good work. And so I just love that he would want us to know him. And so may we not gloss over that. May we not take that for granted. May we realize that he wants us to know more of him. So this First Love Project is something that I wanted to do to encourage us all to be in the Word more. Because he wants us to know him, because he's made a way for us to know him, we should take advantage of that. And as we spend more time in the Word and we see more of his character and who he is and what he's done for us, that will help us want to know more of him and to return to the one who loved us first. And so that's why I call it the First Love Project. Depending on the day of the week that it is, we look at different portions of scripture. So today is a Friday, and let's see what day it is. It's the 10th of July, 2026. And on Fridays, we look at the prophets, and I call that grace in the waiting, because a lot of times what we would see is God would give the words to give for the prophets. He would give the words to the prophets and for the prophets to give the words to the people. But sometimes there was waiting. A lot of times there's waiting. We're still waiting on some of the prophecies to see the full fulfillment of those. God is not bound by time as far as he's concerned. I think it's an already not yet thing. He's seen it come to fruition because he's not bound by time, but we are. But it is grace in the waiting. He doesn't have to give us the prophecies. He doesn't have to give us his grace or his patience, but he has, and that is the character of our God. So where we find ourselves today, though, is in one of the minor prophet books, and we're in the Old Testament. Most of the books of prophecy are in the Old Testament, and so we see that the Old Testament begins with the 5 books of the law, then it moves to Old Testament history, then to the wisdom and poetry literature, and then to the major prophets, and then the last 12 books of the Bible are the minor prophets. Major tended to be called major because of the volume of their work. The minor prophets tended to be a little shorter, although that's not a hard and fast rule. But we tended to not see quite as much of the volume there with those minor prophets. Although I believe it's Zechariah and Hosea are a little longer than Daniel's book of prophecy. So, but in just big generalities, we can look at it the way that I mentioned. Now, where we find ourselves today is in the book of Habakkuk. Or some people will call it Habakkuk, but it is a short book, and we don't know a lot about Habakkuk. We don't know we don't have a lot of background about him, but we know that he wrote this before those from the southern kingdom of Judah were carried off, and it was sometime after Assyria had come in and scattered the northern kingdom. And so we see that God tells them that, or God gives the message to Habakkuk that there will be these Babylonians that are coming in, and they are going to carry away that southern kingdom of Judah. And that didn't seem like it could happen because at the time the Babylonians didn't seem to have much power. But God was giving them the warning that this would happen, and he was giving them grace and telling them this. And then when things started to happen, Habakkuk was having a hard time understanding, how, God, are you going to use this heathen nation why are you using them? And it's because God's ways and his will are much higher than ours. And he can use whomever he chooses in whatever way he chooses for his purposes to be accomplished. And I want to open up and let you kind of hear this complaint that Habakkuk had, and then hear God's response. It says, the oracle that Habakkuk the prophet saw. Oh Lord, how long shall I cry for help? And will you not hear? Or cry to you violence, and you will not say? Why do you make me see iniquity, and why do you idly look at wrong? Whew, Habakkuk felt like he could come to God very honestly. We just got to make sure our heart's right like that and that we're not accusing God. But I think he truly didn't understand. He's like, how can this be, Lord? And sometimes don't we do that? He says, why do you make me see iniquity and why do you idly look at wrong? Destruction and violence are before me. Strife and contention arise. So the law is paralyzed and justice never goes forth. For the wicked surrounds the righteous, so justice goes forth perverted. And then I love this. This is God's answer. And I think this is his answer to us at times. He said, look among the nations and see, wonder and be astounded. For I am doing a work in your days that you would not believe if told. That's the thing we must remember about God. He sees the whole picture. He is always working, often in a myriad of ways that we cannot see nor comprehend. But what we know is true is that he is altogether good. He's altogether holy. Anything he does is for a good purpose. He sees the things that we don't see, so we don't need to be accusing him of being unkind, unfair, unrighteous. Everything he does is right and true and good. Now, we are the ones who are not right and true and good. Our world is a sinful world. We are sinful people. We deserve death and separation, but he has made a way for us to be brought back in right relationship with him. Especially on this side of the cross, it's believing in his son Jesus and believing who Jesus is and what he has done, believing that God sent Jesus, trusting God that his way and his will is perfect. And friends, we must do that. We should not be arrogant or prideful to think that we've got it all figured out because we certainly don't. But God knows. And I love this. Look among the nations and see, wonder and be astounded, for I am doing a work in your days that you would not believe if told. Can we trust God to know that he is doing that work? Can we trust him to know that it is amazing and it is perfect? May we do that, and may we encourage others to do the same. Blessings to you, friends. Until next time.